Welcome to Popcorn Planet. I am Andy Signore. We've been live speaking with A.A. Ron himself, growing up Scientologist, Aaron Smith-Levin. Thanks for being here. We've actually been talking J-Lo, and it's fascinating. You'll be able to watch the full show as a member, watch the whole replay. But we're talking about Tom Cruise. We're getting into this. But just a quick recap. It's just interesting. We're going to come back to this. Jernnifer Lopez's father was a Scientologist, Aaron was sort of reminding me of. And for some reason, she was still allowed to be interacting with her father. And he said it's one of the biggest mysteries. And I'm glad we brought that up because I want to pivot now to Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise, Katie Holmes had Suri Cruise. And when she was, 7, 8 or something, she, this is the music from that site. Katie Holmes, in a amazingly sort of Ocean's 11 style divorce, was able to get herself out of the Tom Cruise relationship and take her daughter with her. Over these years, Tom has never, to our knowledge, ever interacted with her, seemingly completely disowning, apparently still paying child support, but having no part in his daughter's life. Suri is now 18, and the big news obviously now is that the graduation happened and she has now changed her name to remove Cruise. She is now Suri Noel in honor, stop with the music, Suri Noel to honor her mother, which I guess is her mother's middle name. And that's what's happening. It seems Suri is now fully gone Team Katie, her mother, and completely disavowed Tom. So I want to go remind people, those who don't know, Aaron, please give us the quicker recap. What am I missing there? Am I missing this? Tom has pretty much disowned Suri because of Scientology, because Katie Holmes was not a Scientologist, and now they are suppressive people. He cannot engage with her. Is that what you know? Has he ever engaged with her in the past decade?
Well, if you remember, even after the divorce, there was plenty of instances in the press of Tom having Suri with him. There was pictures in the tabloids of Tom and his sisters with Suri walking through parks in like Germany and New York and London and all this sort of stuff. So it's not true that once Katie sort of made her great escape and started initiating divorce proceedings, that was the end of Tom Cruise's involvement in Suri's life. It's sort of been a bit of a mystery as to what is it that actually happened post-divorce that caused Tom to have zero involvement, and whose request was it? Because it makes more sense to me that it had something to do with the final divorce agreement, that it had something to do with that it would have been Katie who was like, no. You are not having Suri for X number of weeks or months here and there so that you can indoctrinate her into the fact that I'm a suppressive person, just like you did with Connor and Isabella against their mother, Nicole. It seems to me that it is Katie who probably would have wanted it to be this way.
Well, there's rumors also that Nicole reached out to Katie and sort of gave tips, which wouldn't surprise me. But that's where I get to, because that changes this argument, because it's very easy to say Tom abandoned Suri, Tom rejected Suri, but there is a version of this story, potentially, no one really knows the full information, where Katie may have just said, no, I don't want you anywhere near her. I don't want your religion anywhere near her. And Tom would have had to, out of respect for the mom and the sake of, fine, I'm going to step away, not be involved. Do you think that's a possibility?
Well, I would, but I would alter it a little bit to say, not out of respect for the mom, out of self-preservation for Tom Cruise, David Miscavige, and Scientology.
Fair, good point.
Because yes, why does Apple do that? Yes, Tom would have had to agree, but he would have felt that he had no choice but to agree, because Tom Cruise, being Tom Cruise, and actually even just given the other rules of Scientology, would have been allowed to remain in contact with Suri. He would have been allowed to. Katie Holmes has never publicly attacked Scientology. Yes, did her leaving Tom bring a bunch of bad press to Scientology? Yeah, that's not Katie's fault. It's not a suppressive act in Scientology to divorce Tom Cruise. I mean, if you're going to divorce Tom Cruise, it's going to create bad press no matter what. So it would have, the way I'm thinking about it, because I'm not pretending to have any inside knowledge about this. The way I'm thinking about it is, it would have had to be something Katie demanded, and it would have had to have been something that Tom Cruise had no choice but to accept, because the alternative would have been even worse for him. And Katie Holmes spent an awful lot of years in the inner circle of Tom Cruise and David Miscavige, and she had an awful amount of leverage to use in getting Tom to agree with any and all of her demands. And I also think that's why we see Katie Holmes just continuing to be quiet on the subject, because it seems to me that she's getting everything that she wants, playing the game the way that she's playing it. There's no reason for her to upset the apple cart and create any unnecessary drama and start talking about Scientology or Tom Cruise or David Miscavige or any of that.
Well, that was my next question. And again, that's why there's so much to talk about here, because exactly, does she have dirt on him? What is she holding out on? What is there a version here? I guess there isn't to you, because Scientology is the enemy, and I get it. But there's also a version of this where Tom Cruise is just being taken advantage of by this cult, right? Is there a version of that where Tom Cruise has his head has been so inflated, and he's been told the secrets of the aliens and life or death scenario, and he has just accepted this due to the cult, and then was trying to still be involved in his daughter's relationship, but realized, well, I can't, because it's going to then go against this. Plus, she doesn't seem to want me there. So is there any version of this where you can give Tom some, like, yeah, I guess he's just an idiot in a cult type of excuse? Or do you think there is always something here where Tom knows, no, they're going to destroy me. I have to let this go. I don't want anything to do with this kid.
I mean, I guess there's always a version where you can explore Tom Cruise's path into Scientology, and then getting deeper and deeper and deeper into Scientology. And then he almost gets out of Scientology during the Eyes Wide Shut era, and then David Miscavige brings him back into Scientology. There's probably a very interesting conversation to have as far as Tom being manipulated and used and brainwashed. I just do feel like a long time ago, Tom would have passed that line of crossed that line from no longer being a victim to now being one of the abusers. And I don't claim to know exactly where you draw that line. It would be an interesting discussion. But I can tell you this: Tom Cruise does not do anything that he does out of fear that David Miscavige and Scientology will destroy him. I would throw that right out the window. Tom Cruise and David Miscavige are just literally best friends. They literally believe that Scientology is like the only thing that can unplug all humanity from the Matrix. The core Scientology belief system is very much similar to the Matrix, where this is all just a fake reality. And, we're all just living with lifetime after lifetime with amnesia of our previous lives and our native godlike potential, and only Scientology can unplug us all from the Matrix. And Tom Cruise and David Miscavige, by golly, are going to spearhead the effort. I'd have to think about it. I think in this analogy, David Miscavige would be Morpheus and Tom Cruise would be Neo, but that is very much how they see themselves. The two biggest beings in this sector of the Galactic Federation, and they're going to single-handedly lead the charge to, unplug all humankind from the Matrix.
L. Ron Hubbard is the architect?
Yes.
Okay. Just wanted to make sure I fully. Who's Trinity then? I got to.
Well,
whatever.
It would have been Katie. It would have been Katie.
It would have been. She had the chance. Well, and it's valid, because I try to defend Tom. I don't know. I try to give everybody the benefit of the doubt. I want nothing more than the Tom Cruise redemption arc where he finally turns on Scientology. But we've talked about this on the show. You don't believe that's ever going to happen. And it's hard to defend Tom when you see this adorable kid of his growing up without him around. Now, fair point. We don't know if he's really not been around. He may have been privately, attempting to reach out and be there, or offer to be there. And she just didn't ultimately want to be. Sorry, you said what?
We know. I mean, look, since she was 6 years old, the tabloids have been saying that Tom Cruise has absolutely no involvement in her life. And that's incredibly bad PR. There's no way he's secretly been in her life and hiding it from the press. Like, who would that benefit? I mean, there's just no way. And also, it doesn't get much worse than Tom being at a Taylor Swift concert with Ashton
Christopher
Kutcher
McQuarrie
and
instead
Mila,
of his daughter.
with irony of ironies, Ashton Kutcher and Mila Kunis, who were supporting Scientologist Danny Masterson on the day Suri Cruise is graduating from high school. So like, what's Tom Cruise doing at a Taylor Swift concert that his daughter should probably be at, while his daughter is walking across the stage graduating from high school? There ain't no way Tom Cruise has been involved in Suri's life.
I didn't even think of that connection. The fact that he was there next to Ashton and Mila is just such a bad look right now. Exactly. Like, it's just, it's hard to defend. It's hard to defend. So all that said, it does seem like Suri has probably at this point spoken to her mother, knows that the dad hasn't been in the picture. Sure, he's may have been paying support or whatever, but this move of taking his name away and now she's no longer Suri Cruise and now, you know, removed the cruise. How do you take this? What does this mean to you?
You know, I mean, part of me wants to say it's just her officially severing ties with Tom Cruise, but the only thing that gives me a little pause on that is, why doesn't she go by Suri Holmes? That'd be so cute.
I mean, that'd be a massive FU. And right, she didn't. She's sort of protecting her identity and sort of playing both sides. That's right. Do you think there's a version of this where eventually she does say, you know what? I do want to get to know my dad and I don't want to just hate him. I mean, I can't fault her for that. Like, do you think there is a version of this where everyone who's jumping in to say he's abandoned, they're not together? Do you think, I mean, is that fair to her?
I don't think there's a version of reality. The reason where that happens. Imagine being Suri Cruise. You've grown up in the spotlight, and almost your entire life, the media has been saying that your father has basically disowned you. That is so unbelievably hurtful. That is so unbelievably hurtful. And if I'm Suri, and like, because we speculated a moment ago, like, could Tom have been in Suri's life this whole time, but been keeping it a secret? What a shitty thing to do to your own daughter, to let the press tell the world that your father wants nothing to do with you or has abandoned you, or to create that impression and to keep it a secret. So that's why I throw out the window the possibility that he's secretly been in her life. But then we fast forward to the idea of, would she ever want to reconnect with him? If your father let the world believe that he didn't want anything to do with you for almost your entire upbringing, I don't think I could ever forgive that. And also just the fact that it's true. He didn't have anything to do with her. I won't comment on whether he really didn't want to. He agreed not to. And so I just if I try to put myself in her shoes, I don't see any version of reality where I want to reconcile. I don't know. Do you?
Well, no, you don't paint a good picture, I'll be honest. But again, there's that weird part of like, he's in an alien cult that believes like you said, we're in a matrix. Like, he's so far gone in a weird place that I would think Katie has educated her daughter to be like, your dad's crazy. He's in a cult. Like, that's what I would do if that was my, you know, if my partner was doing that. I wouldn't want to vilify him. You never want to vilify your child's parent. You know what I'm saying? You want to be honest. You want to put it out there, but you want to open the idea of maybe there can be some closure or something. Of course, she's going to be angry, but you always want to support the other parent, no matter how crazy or evil they are, because it's at the end of the day, her father, right? And that's part of her. So I do think it's more complicated, but I agree with your assertion that it's not a good look. And I agree with you. Why would he want to keep that private? Maybe because they wanted to, maybe because he legally had to, maybe that was part of the arrangement. Maybe he couldn't even tell Scientology, because could there be a version where he's like, you know what, fuck it, I'm not going to tell them. I want to make sure my daughter at least knows, sorry, I love you, but I can't. I don't know. It is slightly more complicated when you add alien volcano cult to the mix.
Well, I guess my opinion is affected by the fact that I know Tom Cruise could have stayed in touch with Suri if he wanted to on the Scientology side of things, meaning the rules on the Scientology side would have allowed Tom Cruise to continue to be in touch with Suri.
He wouldn't even have to have it be secret, you're saying. Got you.
It wouldn't have to be secret. And if to speculate, when we speculate on how Katie might have ever explained any of this to Suri, and wanting to maybe sort of explain to Suri, it's not really your dad's fault. He's in this crazy alien cult. She would only explain it that way if it was Tom saying he couldn't see her. And I just don't believe that. I believe it is Katie who said, there's no way I'm ever giving you an opportunity to do to Suri and me what you did to Connor and Isabella and Nicole Kidman. You're not going to have them assigned to some special Scientology handler to teach Suri all about suppressive persons and potential trouble sources, and to brainwash her into thinking that I'm a suppressive person and she should treat me just like fair roads, fair weather relationship. Because look, Katie saw firsthand how Tom Cruise and David Miscavige's soldiers brainwashed those kids to think
Nicole's
that their mother
kids,
was
just so the audience is clear. Sorry, just clarify. Nicole's kids.
Yep, to brainwash Nicole's kids, Connor and Isabella, into thinking that she was a suppressive person, even though Nicole has never publicly attacked Scientology. So they were brainwashed to believe that Nicole was a suppressive person just because she didn't want to do Scientology anymore, and that she was trying to get Tom Cruise to go live his real life, not in a cult. Those Eyes Wide Shut days, Tom was drifting away from Scientology. And that's when David Miscavige assigned his soldier, Marty Rathbun, he assigned him personally to the project of getting Tom Cruise back into the fold. And that is when they started brainwashing Nicole Kidman's kids into believing that she was a suppressive person, even though she had never said anything publicly against Scientology. Katie Holmes would have known that that exact same thing would have happened to Suri if she allowed Suri to still have these extended visitation periods with Tom. That is my personal belief. I have no inside information about that. It's just what makes the most sense to me.
Well, and again, bringing it back around to what we said in the beginning makes it even more odd is the Jernnifer Lopez connection of she was able to somehow have a relationship with her father, who was a massive Scientologist, was out there talking about it and not a suppressive person. So this proves what you're saying. Like, you can apparently do this. So it's interesting. I'd love for you to dig a little deeper. If you find anything, come back, because my audience is fascinated with JLo insights. So we'll have to bring him back if and when he can find some more information. But at the end of the day, yeah, is it safe then, in your opinion, you think Suri has now fully abandoned, disavowed Tom? Do you think this final name thing is, or as you're implying, do you think she's still holding out hope because she didn't just go Suri Holmes?
If I had to guess, any decision Suri ever made about coming to terms with not caring about ever seeing Tom Cruise again, if I had to guess, that decision happened a long time ago, and that this name change is really just more of a wanting to be her own person. The more I think about it, the fact that she didn't take her mom's name, that would have been so adorable, right? That would have been such a nice homage to the woman who actually raised her and, helped her become the woman that she is now, the young woman that she is now. I think that would have been the biggest middle finger to Tom Cruise, would be to take Katie's last name. I think that she's using Katie's middle name is just like, look, I'm an adult now. I'm my own person. I don't just want to be known as the daughter of these two famous people. And so I feel like she put Tom Cruise in the rearview mirror a long time ago, and this is just sort of a life change. That's my guess.
Well, there's also the fact that you said it. Katie Holmes and Nicole Kidman have both been extremely classy, not gotten salacious or probably could have absolutely sold things about Tom that wouldn't have been, looked nice. Maybe she's taken a page out of that book too of, I want to be Holmes, and Katie's like, it's not worth the attention you'd get in the press to be a Holmes right now, because what that means is you're really doing it by being in the middle. There's still a little bit of this, well, I'm not completely disavowing him and siding with you. It does seem like, I don't know, I get a vibe Katie Holmes is very smart, and her family was her dad, particularly from what I've learned as the lawyer, the whole way they got out of that Scientology thing with Tom and managed to get full custody of Suri, which was not easy to do. It just, to me, shows she's wants to be smart, careful, not keep putting attention to themselves, and move on with their lives. So good for Suri, I guess. Seems like she's in a good spot now and a good mom taking care of her. It is truly sad, as someone who tries to give Tom the benefit of the doubt that he's in a weird alien cult. This is a very hard thing to explain. And it's something that he seems to not let anybody bring up. Like, I imagine you agree that this is something that when he does any sort of junket or appearance somewhere, there must be someone saying you can't bring up any of his kids. Do you think it's just Scientology in general? What do you think that sort of disclaimer is before an interview goes?
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it's Scientology and anything to do with Katie and Suri. I wonder if there's any rules against asking him about Connor and Isabella. The reason I doubt that is because Connor and Isabella are pretty dedicated Scientologists. And to my understanding, they are still connected to their mother, Nicole Kidman. So it's honestly wouldn't be a sore point to mention Connor and Isabella, unless it were to by contrast, highlight the horrendous situation with him and Suri. But like, make no mistake, Connor and Isabella are dedicated Scientologists.
And they were just seen, I was trying to find the photo, they were just seen recently with a sports person together. So they're still practicing. They seem to still be there, but I didn't know they were still, I guess they're nice to Nicole, but the relationship isn't the same. there still was a
The relationship would never be the same as their relationship with their dad because of their beliefs in Scientology. There's one thing, the only thing worse in Scientology than not being a Scientologist is having been one and then left. So the only thing worse than never having been a Scientologist is having been one and then left. So they will always see their mother as someone who is in some way, shape, or form very problematic from a Scientology perspective, but they've never disconnected from her. And I believe that if they did disconnect from her, I believe Nicole would start speaking about Scientology, in my opinion.
It's a safe guess, but there it is. Tom still cozying up to the Scientology kids, but not being around Suri's life. It is a hard thing to justify. I don't like it, and I try to give him the benefit of the doubt, but man, this is tough. But good for her. Seems like she's moving on with her life. Leave her alone. She doesn't want to be in part of this drama. I support that. But now that she's turned 18, I wanted to give you guys the updates because I know we've always talked about it. I hope someone does get the balls to ask Tom to his face, because at this point, I do think it's a fair, relevant public relations question. I won't hold my breath, though. Go ahead.
You know what else would show a lot of balls? If any one of these entertainment journalists, especially since the stakes for pissing off a celebrity might be a little lower with Jernnifer Lopez than with Tom Cruise, someone ought to just ask Jernnifer Lopez this question about her father. How come your Scientologist father wasn't required to disconnect from you, but all of Leah Remini's Scientologist friends were required to disconnect from her? That would be an amazing question.
J-Lo doesn't really let people ask too many questions. It's similar to Tom Cruise. Someone did ask her about the Ben, and she just about Ben Affleck, and she, shame on you. So I won't hold my breath, but yes, who out there is going to take the challenge? I implore you, in honor of Popcorn Planet and growing up Scientology, grow the balls, ask the questions that the people really want to know.